Hey Rob, welcome back, man. How you doing?
I'm so good, Tim. I'm good, and I'm putting on my rally cap for this conversation.
Oh,
So,
here we go.
uh-huh. So, got to turn it around.
All right. We're halfway through your 10 tenets of kindness that you shared. I don't even know how many weeks ago now. But number 5, kindness walks in constant tension with truth, which, like, when you said it, I was just like, yes.
Yeah.
But then number 6, kindness is directly related to something that we share. Tell us where
Yes.
you're at with this, man.
Okay, that first one. Let's separate these two for this because I that second one has a lot in it. Kindness walks in tension, constant tension with truth. I wrote this like in my notes. I said being kind is not the only goal. The tension is also being truthful and direct. One of the things, that is the question I wrote. Could I be kind to you by telling you no? And I think one of the things that I wrestle with, and some people will have very strong opinions about this, is that is there a difference between truth and kindness? And I think we could look at it like when I do speak truth to you, when I say truth, I gotta say that very careful. When I speak something that I have conviction about
Yep.
to you, is the goal to say it with kindness, or is it also to be aware that those two things are not always the same? Right? That sometimes, even if you don't perceive it as kind, well, that's another conversation, Tim, is interesting, right? Is if could I be kind and you don't perceive it as kind is fascinating. I didn't get
It
into
is.
that during these 10.
It is.
But I think it's interesting. I guess I just wanted to give permission to this reality in our humanity that sometimes we know this, right?
Yeah.
Is to speak something that may not be perceived as kind, but to be able to realize that there's times where directness is really what's appropriate. And I do think there's something to that idea that I would do that with a kind heart and kindness. What are you thinking?
I have to say, would it be kind for me to lie to you or to allow you to sit in error?
Hmm.
Right? That's unkind. And so I think we have to get back, to our perspective, our seat of leadership. One, if you're leading, do your people question you? Are they encouraged to question you? Because that right there breaks down that barrier of like, oh, criticism is unkind. Well, I mean, some types of criticism is literally unkind, but it's because of how you went about it, right?
Yeah.
And so I think we can remember two things. One, at the kindness games, we believe that you should assume the best intent in others. So if somebody says something that sets you off, try to reset and be like, you know, you said this to me and it made me feel this way, but I actually don't believe you meant it that way. Now,
Yeah.
what if the person did mean it that way?
Yeah.
It gives them an out, a way to preserve their dignity and to say, you're right, I didn't mean it that way. Because a lot of times we regret things right after we say them,
Right.
and they can backpedal it. They can clarify themselves and be like, I really actually wanted to say it this way, and I'm sorry it came out that way. Right. And
Yeah.
95% of the time, that's what happens. And that leads to having meaningful conversations. If you are leading with kindness, as we like to say, you
Hmm.
have to be willing, not willing, you have to be excited to lean into meaningful conversations, even when they're uncomfortable, because it's through these conversations that we actually understand each other, that we build a stronger connection, and we build that track record of this is how I want to show up for you. And this is how I want you to show up for me. And now there's much less of a likelihood that I'm going to come off as being unkind to you because you actually know my heart because we've been talking about these things, right? What do you think about that?
Oh man, there's so many pieces of that. I think that what I hope people will also feel is an invitation to continue to walk into the tension of these things.
Yeah.
Because I think that so often what happens is when we experience the tension, we then throw it all out. As opposed to saying, maybe that's what this is really about, is that the tension is what makes us human. And you know what I'm saying? Where if you experience that, like, oh, it's not working, so I just throw out everything. or I just lean back into my default with I'm just going to be direct because that's what it begs for. But maybe this walking in tension between the two, between this necessity for speaking truth, and to speak that from a heart, hopefully from a kindness space, which would be from the roots. Because it's interesting when you think about back to our original first conversation about kindness being in our roots, is that that means it's not simply something you see on the outside. So even if I'm direct, could I have a kind perspective and approach to Tim,
Right.
even if he may be experiencing what I'm expressing, the possibility that you might experience it as hostility
Yep. But the
is
other way,
really interesting, you know?
if we have this relationship, I can say like, hey, Rob, like what you just said, like I see danger there. And like,
Yeah,
here's why. Right. And
yeah,
that's a direct like intervention right there. But it didn't come off as kind, right? It came off as like,
right.
I'm worried about you. I want to make sure that if you're going to say these things, walk this path. And I would argue, especially in today's day, the more tension there is around a topic, the more important the topic is to have a conversation around, because that's something we share, that we want to share, is
Yeah,
community, is connection, right?
yeah. So that's that next point I made, which this got me thinking a lot because you know how I love to deconstruct words. So I was like, what else is kindness related to? And I started thinking of the word kindred,
Yeah.
that it's related, that kindness is directly related to something we share. But it's no mistake that it shares these roots with that word kindred, that kindred is about something we share. And it begs a big question. Was one of my points was, if I don't know you,
Yeah.
what do we share that would compel me to be kind to you? If I don't know you, what would compel me to, to be kind to you? Then it begs this question is, what is it that I might not know yet that
Mm.
you're experiencing that I may have experienced or could relate to, so that I would know you better? Can I put myself, this is where that concept of kindness starts to relate to my ability to put myself in your shoes. Even if you're the most difficult person who's causing problems for me,
Yeah.
that I can't be kind to you unless I actively and with intention put myself in what your experience might be like. And
Yeah.
it's why with graduate students over the years, we would have them, they would put out a thesis, and then we would ask them. I had another professor where we'd always do this. The way we'd provoke them is we would say, now argue against yourself. Can you argue the other side? And not just like for this, like not in sort of I'm just doing it because I'm supposed to do it, but to actually put myself in your shoes
Absolutely.
and see it, what if that's what allowed us to actually be even more kind?
Well, one of the episodes of the Real Kindness Games that Keikishan and I did, we made the statement that if you have a strong conviction in an argument and you cannot conversationally discuss the counterpoints and counter views, you don't actually own that opinion. You're renting it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing. We need to be able to understand another's perspective, because we're never fully right. I think that's an impossibility, to be 100% fully right in everything we do.
Yeah. That
And if
runs
you feel
deep.
like you are, oh, I don't
That's
know.
like,
You're probably not
you've
treating other
heard,
people well.
you made me think about, you've heard me talk about the word conviction, and it's rooted in the word elencho in Greek.
Mhm.
And it means to cross-examine.
Yeah.
So it's like, we don't, like to your point about renting and owning, we don't actually get to have a conviction until it's cross-examined. And so how could we, to know one another, like, that's so, I hope that I'll continue to work at knowing people that are where I don't know what we share, but if I did know them and I had that kindred spirit, like, then kindness might emerge even more.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I guess I'll leave this one asking a question. Hey, you watching this, what do you want to share with the people around you?
Hmm.